Yeah, so the standard is the same as for pretty much any written project, any paper. They still have to, be mindful of their grammar, spelling, all of those basic things. Um, but it's not so much about doing enough things to get a certain grade, but it's about focusing more on the task, the project at hand, and not only learning the information, but understanding the information well enough to communicate it to another person. It's not necessarily expecting them to be good teachers because not everyone is really all that set up for success in that area. They might not be super comfortable with that and they might not do the best job, but if they're properly organized, if they seem like they put enough effort into both their research and the construction of their project, they're considerate of what their class would be most receptive to, and how they would best grasp the information. Those are really the important parts of it. In that way, no matter what each student does, no matter how they choose to write or present the information, the grading is still fair for everyone because they're still held to the same standard of the quality of their content. And they also do have to show, even if they have maybe less resources than someone else, as long as they're able to kind of provide an explanation for it or show their method of thinking behind it, then they'll be able to kind of justify that, which I think is a freedom that is offered in language arts that is not necessarily always taken advantage of. So that's another part of this project, is to give the students enough mental freedom to wrap their minds around this assignment, especially because there's a lot of students that might not be super great with either reading or with writing, and that can either just make it difficult for them to succeed because they're not able to perform those tasks at the same level as other people in their class, but also just because their mentality, they just believe that they're not going to be able to succeed. But in this way, it sets the most students up for success, so that's a really important thing to keep in mind about this presentation and why it's set up the way that it is. But otherwise, things are mostly up to the teachers. They can, again, understanding their class and each student, things like, specifics about plagiarism. Those are things that the teachers can still touch on. It's really dependent on the curriculum that's being used because some students at this point have already learned about plagiarism. They already know kind of how to cite sources. They've already been trained in that way, and other students haven't. So it's up to the teacher to understand whether or not their students are going to be able to perform at a certain level, and then that way they'll be able to kind of form their criteria based around that. If they know that their students are mostly unprepared for that level of citation and kind of academic responsibility, they can be a little bit more lenient and opt more towards instruction. So yeah, that's mostly just how this lesson would go and how this assignment would go as far as the students. And that's about it.